Hello and welcome to the Faces of Mental Illness, a show where I turn my experiences of mental illness into pieces of art that are not only abstract, that are not only based in horror, but also excruciatingly show that a face is able to portray way more than any other form can. You are able to see faces in many different things. You're able to see faces in clouds, in waves, in architecture. Architecture? English is not my biggest language, but when it comes down to it, this series focuses on horror art portrayed through faces. So why through faces? Faces specifically because I wanted to be able to show the kind of anguish that somebody would have when they experience mental illness. And a lot of the time, mental illness is internal. You don't see it. There are aspects of mental illness that, of course, are external, like physical hindrance, not laziness, but lack of motivation, on inability to showcase emotion properly. There are ways that mental illness does show itself through your facial expressions, but it's not as painfully obvious as what you're feeling on the inside. So I wanted to create this series in order to give a new light to the whole world of mental illness and be able to convey feelings inside into facial expressions that you can understand, because facial expressions are one of the things that so many people are automatically able to understand context. If somebody is frowning and they say, "What do you mean?" you can obviously tell that, oh, they're confused, they're possibly angry. But if they're smiling and they say, "What are you doing?" or "Why are you doing that?" if they're smiling and laughing, then you can obviously see in their face and their actions that they're not being aggressive. They're not being on the offense, unless, of course, tone of voice and stuff like that. But you're able to tell a lot of things when it comes to physical appearance, and that's what I wanted to portray in this series. So without further ado, I would like to take you into the art. So I hope you enjoyed. Oh wait, I haven't even talked about my credentials. Credentials? It's not like this is a job or anything. I have suffered with multiple different things, ranging from depression and anxiety all the way over to intrusive thoughts, paranoia, stuff like that. Even sometimes delusions, sometimes incredible debilitating negative symptoms, sometimes even psychosis. So I've been through a strange mishmash of mental illness in my life, and I wanted to portray that through faces. So without further ado, let's get into the art. This is what I like to call the one who glared at me. I like to call it the one who glared at me, not because it's a hallucination that I had, but because when I was going through a very intense obsessive paranoiac, when I was going through an episode where I had extreme paranoia. It was something that I had to face when I was recently told that I needed to go back to the mental hospital. And so I was extremely intense paranoia and anger and stress. And that is sort of what I wanted to portray in this photo. I wanted to portray the strange feeling of not being able to feel either happy or sad or nervous or scared, but rather anger above all else. My eyes felt like they were sucking in. I couldn't get any sleep. I couldn't even think about what my life would be like in a couple days. And that terrified me. That terrified me to the point where I got so incredibly angry. I started feeling things I didn't even understand, that I can't even put into words correctly. But that's what I felt. And there's nothing I can do to change any of that. Because every time I went back into a mental hospital, I was forced to undergo the same treatment that at times didn't even help. So yeah, that is this. Next, let's go on to the last one. This is what I like to call the lady who stood next to me. I call it the lady who stood next to me because I went onto Artbreeder and I adjusted the settings into a face that I thought resembled the face of a hallucination that I saw when I was a little kid, as she stood next to me while I was doing a math quiz on my homework. This is something that I wanted to portray, the strange feeling of familiarity yet distant, distorted sort of environment that my mind was in at that time. It's something that not a lot of people can say they've experienced, hallucinating, whether that be because of drugs, LSD. Oh, I was gonna say crack, but I don't think crack is a hallucinogen. Or maybe it is, I'm not sure. I don't know much about drugs. I did take drug education while I was in the mental hospital, but regardless, we're moving on. I wanted to portray what it's like to show something that is vaguely familiar, but at the same time incredibly horrifying, and something that doesn't necessarily seem normal. I wanted to emphasize the strange way that a thing can smile, a strange way that a face can smile, and yet still have a general feeling of uneasiness. So yeah. So that was the first episode of the Faces of Mental Illness. I know it's a very short one, but it's something that I wanted to be able to test the water to see how people reacted to it. I know people really loved my Art of the Mentally Ill videos, which is why I keep posting more videos like that. But I wanted to test out something new using different programs, using, Medibang, Photoshop, Effect, Artbreeder, stuff like that. I wanted to show I wanted to test what I could do with those apps before I create a full-blown series. So if you liked it, drop a comment, drop a like. If you're in an emergency, I have emergency links down below. If you need to DM me, you can go. My social media is in the description below. So thank you for watching. I really, really, really do appreciate it. And to all 317 of you, I think, truly you have my gratitude. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ahui ho, malama pono.